L'chaim Livracha, Baruch Atah Adonai Menachem Sha'akol Niyah V'zor. As posted, we're saying L'chaim and celebrating the holy, happy birthday of my dear friend and the Koilel's namesake, Rabbi Yehosha, Rafal Halevi ben Hershel Leib. May his neshama have an aliyah. And I think it's befitting and appropriate that we're holding now 3 days before Chai Elul, which we celebrate in Hasidic circles, the birthdays of the Alter Rebbe and the Baal Shem Tov. So for anybody who questions the celebration of an individual who has departed from this world, that we're celebrating their birthday, we've been doing it for a long time. And ve'amech kulam tzadikim, everybody in their own right, in their own way, are righteous in the depths of their soul, and especially a person who unfortunately passed away at a very young age and left an amazing wife, 3 children. May they glean the benefits of this person's neshama and of all the schus that we, as a collective, as Shua's Koilel, individuals and collectively alumni and those who are present, are learning in his merit every single day. Chaim Livracha. So, we started a Maamar, and we got to around 4 paragraphs in. So, if those who are present would be comfortable and patient, I'll give a quick sikum without reading the words inside. I'm on page Taf Samach Zayin, right there. Should be good. Ani Lidodi it starts. Yeah. See the words? So we got to Dalit, but I'll give a quick summary. And the summary is as follows. The whole Maamar is premised on words from Shir HaShirim that the Alter Rebbe explains, and the verse from the Song of Songs by King Solomon is, I am to my beloved and my beloved is to me, which in Hebrew is Ani Lidodi Vdodi li, which has an acronym for Elul. Ani, Aleph, Lidodi, Lamed, Vdodi, Vav, Li is Elul, the month of Elul. We know that there are other acronyms in Torah that are discussed in other places that personify the month of Elul, depending on the theme of tzedakah, of teshuvah, of tefillah, of various spiritual ways that we can reconnect to Hashem. But in this, Ani Lidodi V'Dodi Li is specifically emphasizing the idea of and the power of teshuvah, of returning back to our beloved. And the Alter Rebbe brings up actually a very Kabbalistic idea. What's the Kabbalistic idea? Based on the Arizal. That we know that there are various holidays that according to Jewish mysticism, those holidays are expressing and are revealing certain godly faculties and energies in the world that are uncommon, that are not revealed during the mundane weekdays. So just for example, I spoke about this last week, let's say Pesach is the energy of chesed, kindness and generosity, and a very spiritual energy of like freedom, right? And Shavuos, let's say, is the idea of gvura, discipline. Again, I don't know specifically which one, but each one is connected to something. Now, what eclipses all of those energies is something that we celebrate every week called Shabbos. And Shabbos, right, we say is the idea of Oineg Shabbos, the immense pleasure of Hashem, the purpose of creation. At the end of the day, the reason why we're not allowed to do proactive labor on those days is not because the rabbis or God wanted to annoy us, but it's because one is so aligned and so synchronized with his divine source, there is no necessity anymore to work with the world. The reason why we have to work Sunday through Friday, 6 days of the week you should work, and on the 7th day you should rest, is not just because Hashem wanted us to play golf on Shabbos, but rather because there's such an alignment and oneness, a returning back, it's called in Kabbalah Aliyah Sa'idumus, a reascending of the worlds, that there is no necessity for me to be involved in lifting up and elevating and purifying and cleansing the physicality of this world and making it spiritual. Because that's automatically achieved on Shabbos. It is not automatically achieved during the week. And we went into this at length last week about the idea of the second soul, the additional soul, which is the idea of an additional vision or perspective of the person who's able to see deeper, and therefore it necessitates less. So it's almost like we said, again, I'm repeating myself a lot, but The idea of the difference between impressing a girl on the first few dates versus being married to her for 20 years. Yeah? On the first few dates, you have to do stuff. There has to be an active approach to this relationship. She has to know that you actually care in a way that you're getting the flowers, getting the chocolate, opening the door, and whatever chivalrous responses there needs to be. But at the end of the day, that's all called weekday energy. Weekday energy means she's not yours. You have not bonded yet. You have not united. Shabbos is the idea that we're married. And we're married for 20 years. So I don't need to do things in order to cleanse the relationship, in order to impress the relationship. She's mine and I'm hers and we are one. And when you're in a state of oneness, in Chassidus we call it dveikus, when you're in a state of dveikus, there is no need to quote unquote impress or manicure the world anymore, which is necessitated during the week. And that's why we cease from proactive labor on Shabbos and Yom Tov. Being that Yom Tov is less of an energized day than Shabbos, so therefore you're allowed to cook and you're allowed to carry. So again, the prohibitions are more liberal on Yom Tov, specifically because the energy is not as potent. So we'll say Yom Tov is you're not married for 20 years, you just got married. So there's still a little bit of impressing that needs to be done. There's still a little bit of cleansing that the world is required. There's still a little bit of refinement and uplifting. But Shabbos is totally not like that. What does this have to do with anything? The Arizal teaches that the month of Elul is the revelation of the 13 attributes of mercy, which we say that the 13 attributes of mercy of God even supersedes the energy of Shabbos. And if that's the case, that at the very least, every single day of Elul, from Rosh Chodesh Elul, from the onset of Elul, until Rosh Hashanah, until even Yom Kippur, it should be a Yom Tov. We should be walking around in kapatas. We should be walking around, going to shul every single day, as if and not doing any proactive labor. And this is the Alter Rebbe's question based on the description that the Arizal gives of the month of Elul. That if it's such a holy month, if it's such a fantastically connected month, if it's such an aligned month relative to the rest of the months of the year, then and every single day is this energy showering and pouring on us, then why aren't we fulfilling the idea of Yom Tov every single day? And with this, the Alter Rebbe gives the famous mashal that the king is in the field. The king is in the field implies that we are able to have such an immense revelation in the mundane. That we're actually able to synchronize the holiest part of godliness in the most physical part of our world. And he goes through a whole entire mashal, an example of the king and his entourage coming from various places, and the king went to go check different provinces of his rulership, and finally he comes back. And prior to his coming back to his metropolis, he stops in the field, and the field is where the peasants work. And once a year, he basically gives the peasants their flowers. Why are the sophisticates eating? Why are the noblemen eating? Because you're working so hard. And this is called the month of Elul, where the revelation of godliness and his holy, compassionate attributes are revealed in a way that we're able to download it, we're able to ingest it, while still wearing our jeans and t-shirt. And this is the beauty and the novelty of the month of Elul, that we're able to be so connected, so aligned in the most mundane of ways. And this is really a lesson for our whole entire life. It's just personified and much more emphasized in the month of Elul. Now, this was a short description of what the Alter Rebbe brings up in his Maamar, the question and the resolve of the question. However, the Rebbe, based on these ideas and themes, asks something very technical and seemingly very, very insignificant. And he asks like this: in the book, in the Sefer of Likutei Torah, that the Tzemach Tzedek compiled, for which we just learned in Hayom Yom, from 30 laboring over the Likutei Torah over 32,000 hours. 32,000 hours, over 2,000 Maamarim that he handpicked from 2,000 Maamarim, and he created the Torah or Likutei Torah as thick as it is. And yet, it's missing something. It's missing a couple things. The Rebbe is being medayek. He's being very meticulous, and he says, where is this Maamar located? Where is this Hasidic discourse located of the Alter Rebbe? Not in the drushim of Chodesh Elul, which means to say the Maamarim, the Hasidic discourses have to do with Elul. Unlike Rosh Hashanah, there's drushim l'Rosh Hashanah, drushim l'Yom Kippur, drushim l'Sukkos, drushim l'Shabbos Shuvah. So l'Chodesh there should be drushim of Elul, and there's not. What is the title? What is the headline that this Maamar is under? Parshas Re'eh. Fine. In addition, it's specifically on the 32nd page of Likutei Torah. Okay, so there has to be significance there. And number 3, that there is no Parshas Shoftim in Likutei Torah. Okay, so number 1, why are the discourses of Elul not have their own categorization, not have their own headline? Number 2, why are they specifically under the headline of Re'eh? And number 3, why is there no Hasidic discourses, Maamarim on Shoftim, when we know that the Alter Rebbe in his other Maamarim has on Shoftim, the Mittler Rebbe has on Shoftim, the Tzemach Tzedek has on Shoftim, and yet there's no Shoftim in the Likutei Torah. These are the questions of the Rebbe. And the Rebbe answers, first thing, let us identify why this specific discourse is on the 32nd page of the Sefer, the 32nd page of the book. Is because we know 32 is the numerical value of leyv, the heart. And we know that similar to how the 32nd chapter of Tanya is the leyv of Tanya, similar to the heart of the body, that is the pulse and is the energy of the entire body, so too the 32nd chapter of Tanya is the pulse and the whole energy of the 53 chapters of Tanya. That means to say, like, it's literally the middle. It's that which moves and that which causes the energizing of the body of Tanya to move. And what is the theme of the 32nd chapter of Tanya? Is obviously Israel, the unconditional love for a fellow Jew that a person must have, and the only reason why we can't have the love that we're supposed to have for each other is specifically because we are blocked by our own bodies. But if somehow we would see that the bodies were merely conduits for our soul, and that we would be able to see and have a vision of our soul, we wouldn't be blocked by our bodies, and that's the truth of truths. But what can we do that we're blocked by our own bodies? But what's the purpose of life? Is to soften the thickness of our body and try and tune in to the power of the love of our soul, in which we would see that we're only divided, gufais mechulakim, we're only divided in a bodily form. But our souls are absolutely united in one. He says this idea of the 32nd chapter of Tanya, being that it's the leyv, it's the heart of Tanya, can be applied to our Maamar in Likutei Torah. That the fact that this Maamar, what is this Maamar emphasizing? Number 1, the love of Hashem to the Jewish people. And so to speak, the unconditional love, superseding and circumventing all of the sins, all of the negativity, and saying, I love you nonetheless. And not only I love you nonetheless, that I'm waiting for you to come to my palace, but I'm with you in your dirt, in your farm, in your peasantry. And at the end of the day, what is Elul all about? Elul is Yud Gimel Midas HaRachamim, that even though you did wrong to me, and I did wrong to you, if I'm compassionate enough, I'm able to skip over that wrongdoing, and my vices become virtues, and my darkness becomes your light. And at the end of the day, I realize, okay, you know what? We're all human. We make mistakes. Now, God is not human, and therefore He cannot make mistakes. But He, so to speak, skips over the mistakes that we do, and allows Him to reunite as if nothing ever happened. And this is the power of Yud Gimel Midas HaRachamim and the 13 attributes of mercy. That the whole entire year can go a certain way, and at the end of the day, what is my kach? What is my obsession now? My obsession is re-gluing the relationship, not focusing on the negative. And this is the power of the king is in the field, and perhaps this is why the Rebbe says that this is on the 32nd page of Likutei Torah. This is the heart, this is the powerful theme of the whole Likutei Torah. That what is it about? That it's not only in Elul the king is in the field, but every single moment of your life the king is in your own field. And to not relegate it or limit it to just one Maamar or one experience. And with this we'll start where we left off from last week, and I'm holding right before Dalid. We're holding Ani Lidodi Tafshin Mem Vav. And again, we didn't answer the questions of why there is no Parsha Shoftim, and why it's specifically under Parshas Re'eh. Okay, we just answered the idea that the power of the fact that the Tzemach Tzedek made this mimer on the 32nd page. L'chaim. And as the Rebbe concludes the last line of Gimel, that we know specifically based on the teachings of the Baal Shem Tov, that every single thing that you see and hear can be an instruction and a lesson in our divine service. So even though the trivialities of our life, why something is on a certain page, and we're like, oh, what's the big deal? It's so not a big deal. I would always say, by the way, that today is Yud Daled El, my friend Yehoshua's birthday, and I would say you were born on Chabad El. Because Chabad, Ches, Beis, Daled, is Gematria 14. I thought it was like a little cute thing. But at the end of the day, cute things is the way the relationship is able to be sparked. Just happens to be, I think 743 is also 14. Okay. And when I lived in LA, my address was 356 North Martel. 356 is also 14. Yeah, maybe I can get up. Okay. Chabad.
What was the address in Lincoln Place?
1147. It was less than a year. Okay, but either way, the Rebbe is saying the fact that it's on the 32nd page implies is not just a triviality. It's not just an insignificant vart, but it's something that can really be a fundamental and foundation of our life.
My house is also 14.
Huh? Yours?
4505.
Oh yeah. Now you're thinking about everything, huh? Now we can't just have it on our address. We have to live it. Dalid. Let's go in the Maamar. Dalid. I'm in this Maamar on page Tav Sameches. Ani Lidodi Tavshin Memvav. The Rebbe said this in 1986. Now the Rebbe is going to explain all of this, and God willing, I bless us that we'll be able to complete this mimer if I don't elaborate too much. The answer to all of the above questions, why there's no re'eh, why it's in re'eh, why there's no shoiftim, and why it's specifically on page 32, and why it doesn't have its own drushim, is based on the theme of what Chodesh Elul is, and we said this is the analogy of the king being in the field, being found in the field. With this, it sweetens the connection between why the discourses of the Alter Rebbe regarding the month of Elul is specifically found on the 32nd page of Likutei Torah. What's the connection? What's the sweet connection? When the king is in the field. Wow. What's the sada? What does it mean, the field? What does it mean, the field? A field creates an equality amongst all of those who are found in it. Because there, specifically in the field, every single person, without any partitions, without any separation, are permitted and accepted to receive the countenance of the king. And not only are they permitted and accepted to receive his countenance, but he himself, he accepts everybody with a smiling face and a happy countenance. Which is not the case when he's in his metropolis. Not only his metropolis in the city, but specifically in his palace. That only the choicest of the nation and the special folk who are dignitaries, who are ministers, are accepted in the inner realm of the king. So hear what he says. The power of the Sada is, you're a doctor, you're a lawyer, you're a farmer, in the field you're all equal. Because you cannot necessarily express your dignitariness, your mastery, your sophisticatedness when you're in the field. And on the contrary, most people who are sophisticates, most people who are feinschmeckers, they have a problem with too many mosquitoes, and they don't know what to do. And at the end of the day, could they even feed themselves? Could they make a fire? Unless we go camping. Yeah. But at the end of the day, there's an equalizing factor when you're out of your own environment, when you're out of your own comfort zone. And Elul is the time that we leave our comfort zone, we leave our sophisticated statuses that we think we're on, and we become absolutely equal to each other. And even more than this, being that the king is in the field, what happens is that the mechitzos, the divisions, the natural divisions that are naturally structuring our world, and the various echelons of the rich and the poor, and those who have and those who have not, they're all nullified. They're all irrelevant. The divisions are now nullified. Whether it's between the king and the nation, and he accepts everybody with a smiling countenance and with a happy face, which again, in the Maamar that you quoted, I think Tafshim Chavav, that's where he specifies the difference between the two, and he goes very deep into it. And generally, and specifically in Elul, which what is Elul? Elul is the time that Ani Yisrael Vdodi HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I am to my beloved, I the Jew, and my beloved Hashem, Kol Echad Mehu Leyv Kiviyachol Hasheni. This is very powerful. We are God's heart, and He is ours. Ani Lidodi Vdodi doesn't only mean I am to my beloved, and my beloved is to me. It means I am my beloved, and my beloved is me. Hear the difference? I am to my beloved means that you are separate from me, and yet I have to make an effort towards you, and vice versa. I am my beloved means that there is no effort necessary. Like I feel my leg, I feel you. Yeah, what's the famous story of the tzaddik? I forgot who it was, right? Who went to the doctor, and his wife was in pain. The doctor asked, what's the problem with her? And he said, our leg is hurting. Our leg is hurting. Our heart is hurting. Right? It says, Shchinta begalusa. The Shechina is in exile. We think that we're in pain. Hashem is also in pain. Why doesn't He bring Mashiach today, right now, this moment? Okay, there's masochists in the world. Where do you think masochists come from?
Who?
A masochist. Somebody who's masochistic? How do you explain that? Yeah. Yeah. So, Jake said a liberal. Okay. We are politically correct on Shabbos. A masochist is somebody who appreciates pain, self-inflicted pain, I believe. A sadist is somebody who appreciates giving pain to others.
They want to be hurt, kind of thing. They want to be hurt.
A masochist, yeah.
Yeah.
Professional boxer.
In a sense, yeah.
Well, no, they're making a lot of money for that.
So can I have the water, please?
What's the others?
The water,
Able to wait, like when you work out, sometimes that pain.
Right, you keep going.
It hurts, but it also feels good.
But the question, okay, no, that's not a masochist. The
It's like
masochist
you're more able to wait.
saying the goal is the pain, not the side effect.
So I'm. You want the
It's a masochist.
So I'm just saying that what came first, the chicken or the egg? You know, it's not the word we're in Galus. Hashem is in Galus, and there's pain there. And so we're saying, Ani Lidodi Vdodi li, my beloved is to me that we are each other's heart. We're sewn together. We're sewn at the hip. Is that totally? However, how does Hashem be manifest? How does Hashem's energy manifest itself as our heart? We have to do something. We have to become an ani. It's not anachnu ledoidi v'doidi lanu. It's not we are to our beloved and our beloved is to us. The only way that it can happen is that the Jewish people have to have achdus. The Jewish people have to experience each other as one heart. And when we experience each other as one heart, we're literally so one, then the manifestation of Hashem's oneness will then pervade us. This is dependent on the Jewish people's unity. We have to become an ani. We have to become one collective, one energy. And when is this truly revealed? It's specifically when we perceive ourselves as in the field. When are we in? What does it mean to be in the field? That we're all equal. There are no echelons. There are no statuses. We're just one. We're stripped away of any of those statuses that we think we are, or we think the other one is. And this is not only talking about what we perceive in others. It's also about in ourselves. Most of the time, our self-doubt and our life of which filled with anxiety and whatever it is, the buzzwords of 2023, at the end of the day is not really because he is so different than me, is because I don't have enough confidence in myself that I'm superimposing my own mask on him. So therefore I can't have a real relationship with him. But not because he is so much higher than me, it's because I place myself so much lower than him. So what do we have to do? We have to mevatel mechitzos. We have to nullify the divisions. And the nullification of the divisions has to happen with our heart first. It starts with our heart first. The answer number one. This is the connection between why these Maamarim don't have their own title in Likutei Torah, and they are specifically under the category of Re'eh. Look how beautiful this is. The Inyan HaRe'iyah. What's Re'eh? Re'eh is a parsha in the Torah. But what does it mean, Re'eh? To see, right? To see. Because in order to become Ani Lidodi Vdodi li, it cannot be its own isolated category. It has to be under something. It has to be under another category. Because the moment that you make it its own discourses, look how subtle this is. Look how psychological and subtle this is. The moment that you make Ani Lidodi Vdodi li, Elul, its own discourses, you lose the plot of Elul. Verstehst? If you isolate the Maamarim of Elul, you're basically saying that Elul is its own thing. Elul is its own category. And the whole notion of Elul is no. There's no mechitzas. So it needs to be bottled under something else. It has to be couched under another category, but specifically which category? Re'eh. To actually tap in to the energy of Elul, to the energy of Ani, we have to be able to see each other. Dare I say, naked and bare. We have to rid ourselves of all the status quos. We have to rid ourselves of all the mechitzas, of all the echelons, of all the stigmas, and we have to re'eh. We have to, like we said last week, the power of Shabbos is the power of the perspective and vision of the second soul that is able to see the beauty and the awesomeness and the holiness of Shabbos, that is able to then justify the purpose of why we're even working during the week. You need to take that breath. You need to take that exhale. And this is the idea of Re'iyah. And why Parshas Re'eh? What are we seeing? The manifestation of the 13 attributes of mercy, that we have enough compassion, and that compassion is able to evoke in us a face-to-face contact. What's face-to-face contact mean? When I see your face, it says the eyes are the windows to the soul. Why are they the windows to the soul? Because I'm not only seeing your panim, your face, I'm seeing your pnimius. Pnimius in Hebrew means your internal qualities. I'm not allowing your mask that is blocking me from you to categorize you. I'm stripping away the mask. I'm putting it away. I need to focus on the Re'iyah. When I get to the Inyan of Re'iyah, which is the idea of panim bepanim, I see your pnimius ritzoni yisbarach leYisrael, the inner will and desire of Hashem to the Jewish people. And the inner desire of the Jewish people back to Hashem. Again, in order to really believe that we can be forgiven and we can have compassion on another, we actually have to believe that Hashem forgives us. Tanya 101, right? What does it say in Tanya? We just learned this. When we say Slach lanu ki chatanu, I forgot where in Tanya it says it, Slach lanu ki chatanu. If you don't believe that Hashem is the power of forgiveness and pardon, you're saying a bracha levatala, you're saying a blessing in vain. You have to actually believe that you're forgivable. And you have to actually believe that Hashem is able to be comfortable with your discomfort. And once you believe that Hashem is comfortable with your mistakes and with your vices and with your negativity and with your darkness, then you can have compassion on another person. And you evoke compassion for yourself and for the other person. As it says many places in Chassidus, Yaakov asher pada es Avram. The power of Jacob, Yaakov, is that he's able to redeem Avram, able to bring redemption to the energy of kindness. Compassion is able to release the love and kindness of the heart from its shackles. But it has to start with compassion. Once you have self-compassion, you're actually able to believe that Hashem can have compassion on you, then you can have compassion on another person. And that's called Ani Lidodi Vdodi li. That this is the power of Elul. to really believe in the power of forgiveness, the power of mevatling the mechitzas. Al derech hanal,